Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the home of the most competitive game coverage, most intense unit analysis, and the highest of high-level plays ever seen by two casuals who barely know where the rule booklet is. You're listening to This is for Worlds. Let us join Aaron and Fi and see what competitive topic is on the docket today. Hey, welcome back everybody to This is for Worlds. I'm Fi.
And I'm Aaron.
And this is our general gaming podcast. We're going to start with what we're working on, hobby info, modeling for advantage, our favorite section. And I think a lot of it's going to be you this week.
Yeah, you got to go on vacation, so it feels like, it's not like you didn't get anything out of the past week, just not toy stuff.
Well, and the week before was primarily work, although I did get a lot of my West German infantry at least based and set up. I think I've got like 4 squads worth. But that's also taking into account like not just like a full Huey battalion, whatever you want to call them, but it's also like the anti-tank squad, so like the 2 mini base unit stuff. So I think that, and I got the 3 battleships for my Italian Italia Regina for Victory at Sea assembled, and still need to paint them. But yeah, being gone a week kind of hurt the production, which is why we're also recording this on a Friday and not Monday when we normally do it.
I'm sure our tens of viewers will be able to handle
the
change in schedule.
I mean,
Adam's going to listen to it when he has the time, so.
Hey, Adam's not the only one. I mean...
No, that's true.
In case you've forgotten, we would like to thank our lovely listeners, not just here in the United States, as we're pretty sure all 3 of those are you, me, Adam, but like...
Maybe Kyle?
No, there's only 3.
I listened to his podcast.
Well, go yell at him then.
That's fair.
But we have 2 fans in Austria and a couple fans in United Kingdom and 2 fans in the Isle of Man and a few in the Philippines and Poland. So, hey, welcome, international audience.
Hello.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, if that's what you've been working on. For me, I've still been whittling away at the quote-unquote paint commission, because I realized after painting one squad that he picked the brightest highlight color to go over the darkest base color, which means it takes 1,000,000 layers, and it's kind of miserable. But I'm halfway there. Should get it done by the end of next week, because I'm also very tired of working on it, and I would like to move on to other things I'm excited about, but I'm also taking a break from painting those to trim and clean up and easily put together my militia for Team Yankee for my Americans.
Woo!
Yeah, which you so helpfully found somewhere that wasn't our LGS, but, gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, I mean, we had them, and then...
Yeah, I just never got them while we had them, so...
I kept offering, and I was like, you know what, I can't pass up on, the trucks and the militia. I've got to do it. So, but I deferred to you, and you were like, nah. I was like, I don't even play American, though. And you're like, no, go ahead. So, yeah, those were...
I always figure I'll get to it eventually, so...
Yeah, I mean, you've also kind of mentioned that you don't know if you're necessarily going to play them, but they are just a cool little unit to have.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, worked on them. Have I worked on anything else? I kind of put together a bit of the my Shatterpoint core set that I picked up. What would that be? 2 Fridays ago now. I still only played the one game. I do enjoy it, but it's kind of on the back burner for me. I'm kind of hitting some hobby overload. and it feels like, in a good way for me, it's just another way to play Marvel Crisis Protocol,
That's
because
fair.
there is a lot of similarities in the way it plays. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing.
For me,
But
there's nothing I want. There's one model that's out for it that I would like to paint and assemble, and that's Jango Fett. But I don't even want to get into the game until the Bounty Hunter expansion, the Handmaiden expansion, and the Night Sister expansion. And then even after that, I'd be hard pressed to want anything else outside of that. Like going forward in time to the Galactic Civil War stuff, like they've already previewed, like the I can see them, the Spinning Blades, Inquisitorius. They've spoiled them. The Jabba's Palace, Rebels, and I'm just like, meh. It's not really what I want. I have no doubt that if and when they release Jin and give me Jin, Baze, Chirrut, shit, even give me Bodhi and Cassian and K2. That would be a pretty fun squad to have. But like right now, there's just nothing that makes me really excited to want to like even get them to paint, because I've already got those, just in a smaller scale.
quick aside,
Yeah.
Before we move on, with how much AMG just keeps releasing characters for Legion, it blows me away that we haven't gotten Chirrut and Baze.
So I look at it like this.
Yeah.
I look at it like this. They are probably operating on a... I don't want to say they're getting like direct orders from like LFL to do stuff, but I strongly get the feeling of, hey, here's the timeline. Let's try and get some stuff done. Because I mean, Mando, Grogu, IG-11/88 all dropped. I think Boba Fett too last year around the time of Mando season 3. So
coincide with that, yeah.
Yeah, and then like we just got Dark Troopers and Gideon like a month ago. So I strongly feel that like a lot of their stuff may be like guided to coincide. I mean, they talked about the Ewoks coming out, being a part of the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. So there's a lot of stuff I would love to see, but there's some stuff that no matter what, I will take every chance to get it, and those are the ones that I've kind of mentioned.
Yeah, man, that's all I got for modeling for Advantage.
The only other things I've done, hobby related wise, is cut up a bunch of frozen pizza cardboard boxes for the shelving units that the store graciously gave me to get off their hands.
Yeah. Since we can't carry Vallejo anymore.
Yep. So I've got those paint racks. I've got 3 sets of them now. And I found that if I can put the cardboard down, I cut one large strip of whatever, and then a small, like no more than an inch strip. I can set all my Team Yankee, all my Victory at Sea, my World of Tanks minis. I think it's all. I eventually, when I glue the wheels on the Gaslands stuff, like it'll be able to go on there as well. But it all sits there really nicely, doesn't move, and it's a really good display. So I can also see, like, you don't stack tanks behind them, like they're all kind of laid out next to each other, and so it's really easy to be like, all right, here's what I built the list on. Let me snag a couple Leopard 2s. I'll grab a couple 2A5s. We'll just mix and match. Oh, we'll grab these Hueys. stuff like that. And I've got a couple. It's supposed to be like screw and nut boxes for like a pegboard that like I can slot into the rails just perfectly. So like the YPRs for Netherlands have the like three different tops like the M113 has. It's got the hammerhead gun, stuff like that, and they're all in like a little cupola that you can alternate. So like I just got all those sitting in a box right next to it that aren't in active use. So that'll help clean up my space a lot. Otherwise, you just have to have like a lot of cases, a lot of storage boxes and stuff, and then you can't see them, and you gotta kind of like move a lot of stuff. I really like this option because now, I mean, it's like, I don't know, 20 some odd like shelves.
Yeah, it's a significant amount of shelf space to be sure.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's like 3 feet wide. It's probably about the biggest one's like 6 foot tall, but granted, I think a foot of it is like space at the bottom that's empty, and then the top is the signage. But then like everything in between, you got like maybe an inch between shelves, and the shelves themselves are an inch. So it's just a really nice way. I've got pictures of it that I can put on our Instagram just to kind of see. Because I suspect, I mean, it's not just you guys. Every time I go down to Hobbytown to kind of look at some more of the terrain options that Blue Sky doesn't carry, I do take a look through the paint aisle, and it is always like, if it's not testers and AK for the most part, their Vallejo is like super slim. Anything else is also super slim. So I wouldn't be surprised if eventually they're like, yeah, we're just going to put this back in storage, or we're going to throw it into the trash. And then I'll be like, rubbing my hands, being like, hey, I'll just take that off your hands. I'll put it in my basement. Some more storage.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'll say that. I think that's all we've really done. Shall we move on to past week Worlds qualifying and talk about games we've played?
Yeah. You feel free to edit this part out, but I gotta ask because I can't remember. Did you cover your game against Adam in the last episode?
Yeah, because we talked about, and
Okay.
now we have to make.
Didn't remember what you were.
Yeah, but now we have to make a fucking clarification because the reason I definitely remember us talking about it was because I told
we talked about me. Yeah.
I told you on here that I was pretty sure you were doing rules wrong, and then that's when we found out that the fucking rules book that I was using is out of date.
Yeah.
The way I was teaching him was 2017 rules, according to the book date that I had, and the book that you were using, so you're doing the morale correctly, was 2019.
Yeah, I like the old way better, though, I just gotta say.
Yeah, it's because you don't lose stuff near as often.
Which it's not quite so punishing.
Yeah, which I mean I kind of understand, because there were a number of times where I had thought, I was like, oh man, if the rules were like how Aaron has described them to me in the past, this game would have been over a lot sooner. So I think it was done to be like more aware of like, hey, we don't necessarily want this game taking like 5 hours kind of thing.
Yeah, just because one dude refuses, one dude in the corner won't die and your shit's just lingering, and yeah.
So correction on that, we were using the old 2017 book when we were doing that learning game, and then you and I met and compared, because you and I got in a game while we were judging a Legion tournament, and we had significantly fewer calls than I think we've ever really had, despite having more rounds than we've ever run in an event. So we needed
Combined with the fact that we had 16 people, at least at the start, yeah, I mean, the potential for more was there, but not really.
Yep. So we were able to like sneak in a Team Yankee game. Granted, it was on a 4x4 and it was 100 points because that's just what I happen to have. And so you brought points to match, and I was like, oh, we can go down, and you were like, no, let's just do this. And
Not a good choice for me.
I don't necessarily agree that it wasn't a good choice. I think you just deployed very badly. Because I don't remember.
Flash played very badly.
Well, it doesn't really. There's not much you can do. When
In my defense, though, on the deployment, the mission we played, I didn't really get a choice. You won the roll. You got to pick attacker. You picked a corner. You had a 12-inch bubble from your corner. I had to deploy in the opposite corner. I didn't have a choice.
I'm not talking about that as your deployment. I'm talking about you set your M1s opposite, like.
That. Yeah.
You set them direct opposite of my. I only had 2 Leo 2A5s and 1 Leo 2 as like an HQ squad. And you. And because of Scout, they. On my Lukes, they got. Or not Scout. Was it? It's not Breakthrough. Spearhead, yeah. Because of Spearhead, I was able to swing them out. And so you got to see where all of my stuff was deployed, and you looked at it and you said, yeah, no, the M60s can totally take on the 2A5s by themselves. I'm going to put my M1s over here to go, like, punch my Leo 1s in the face. And my Leo, nothing moved out of that corner except for the Leo 2s. Like, they were like, nah, we're just going to get within range enough of whatever objective we were playing, and we're just going to hide behind line of sight blockers because we know we can't fight the M1s. But that just let me, like, set the 2A5s and the Leo 2 in with the M60s and be like, well, you're not punching through, and I'm murdering as much of you as possible, and then your M1s went a little too far forward that I had side shots on you, and then it was like, shit, alright, we're kind of not going to move from the one line of sight blocker that you could, like, hold, and then my tornadoes came in.
Ugh. Yeah.
And
I forgot every single time.
Yep.
Like, sure, it was like only 6 50 cal shots, but I've seen them matter and actually do things, and I forgot every single time.
Yep, even with the rerolls. Yeah, but they came in, and because we were playing on the 4x4, that just meant your artillery, your like HQ, like everything pretty much was in salvo distance. And a flight of 4 does a significant amount of work. So, yeah, it was actually a pretty short game.
Yeah.
I remember.
But thank God we got to do that as opposed to just sit there and stare at each other for 16 hours.
True. And I also remember, just to kind of pour a little salt in the wounds, I forget what the objective was, but I remember that you either needed to hold like the center and one other objective, or you needed to hold.
You're really
Huh?
Yeah, you won and you just kept playing.
Yeah, I mean I was going to describe it. Was you needed to control 3. You needed to control 3, or the one in the center and one other. And so, because I had Scout, my guys were, or not Scout, Spearhead, my guys were able to get really on top of the one right next to the deployment zone super early. And then the Leo 1s, all like 10 of them moved up to sit on the other one and just hide. And then when the 2A5s went out to engage your 60s, They were just naturally there. And then at some point during the game, you just kind of looked over and were like, hey, why haven't you taken the center one to just end the game? I was like, can I also take 3? And you're like, what? No, just take the center one and win. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm already winning. What was the objective again? And you were just like, oh, you've been on here for like 2 turns already. And I was like, yeah, I was just playing the game so we didn't have to like stop.
Yeah. Not the sharpest tool sometimes.
Well, I mean, the fact that it was a 4x4 meant everything was in like range really fast, and we couldn't get on any of the.
How much we had? Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't really do any of the 6x4s because the Legion tournament was still playing, but.
Those nerds.
Yeah. So I didn't really. It's not like we were really being super competitive on that one. But I think that was the last time you and I played Team Yankee. And then the only other gaming I've got in since our last podcast, I would say, was Gaslands last night.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, I would. We got a game in before everybody showed up. We played a death race, and I brought a team that I completely botched when assembling because I totally thought I took a perk. I remember selecting the perk, and I think when I went to add another one. Say again.
Rear wheel drive.
Yeah, I thought
for setting up the
Yeah, because I took slime and I took a 1 unit. I took a 1 car team because I just like 1 car, even when everybody else either brings 3 or has a lot of other stuff. I thought I selected it. I think when I went to add another one, I accidentally either deleted it or changed it by accident when I went to add it. Because I remember when you're like, oh yeah, did you take it? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then I was reading through the list and I was like, I remember hitting the button. And then I was like, oh, this is going to be significantly harder to do than any. Shit. Because the whole thing for slime is you want to ram, but you can only ram side to side to essentially get your audience vote and do the.
Yeah, don't you get a free activation on top of it too?
It's a move, extra move. You don't get to
extra move.
Shoot. Yeah. So I could never get it set up because of the way. I got plenty of spins, but every time I tried it, it always ended up me T-boning you, and I never got to do the thing. So I was pretty bummed about that. And then I also remembered no, it's not how they get the audience vote. They get the audience vote by it's hazards.
Yeah, less or more hazards than
hull points.
Hull points on other vehicles with a medium or something like that.
No, it's on that vehicle. So
okay. That's great.
I set up a bunch of perks on it to remove hazards because I knew I was only taking 1. It just didn't go well. It's why I ended up scrapping that team for the second game and just being like, all right, we're just gonna build something ridiculous and fun for Saturday Night Live. Because I forget, you played, was it Rutherford in the race?
Yeah, I played the basically the military team, truck with a tank cannon, car with a bunch of machine guns. Or it was a truck with the tank cannon, which never actually shot the tank cannon and won by racing.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the Rolling Road event that we had, where I literally brought a truck whose like maximum gear was 3. I think he only had like a harpoon and rams on him or something, and just nobody attacked it. So it was like slowly just chugging across this field, and you guys were like going after each other and trying to make sure Albert didn't win. And I was just like, the slowest vehicle is going to win this race. And everybody was like, well, yeah, because we got to take down Albert. So,
Yeah, that's our mantra when we play games with him. If Albert loses, the table wins.
yeah, and frequently the vehicle that you're like, this vehicle's sole purpose is to do this one thing. It will frequently not do that thing ever in the game, but it'll be the one that crosses the finish line.
Yeah.
Well, what other games did you play while I was off gallivanting around?
Let's see. So the week before, because you were on vacation last week, right?
This week. Last week I was working.
Oh, that's right. So played a game of Victory at Sea with John. It was his first game. Went pretty good in terms of like getting him like understanding the rules and such. One thing to be said, because I did totally lose. I rolled like Sam bad. Like, don't get me wrong, I probably made not the greatest choices, but the level of like just whiffs that I had that time were off the charts. It was astronomically bad. Still had a good time though, because my big battleships, of course, or cruisers in this case, exploded in dramatic fashion. But one thing we learned, because I just happened to throw out a few islands, is that if you do want to take like the little motor torpedo boats, you do have to have land masses in play. If you don't, you can't actually play them.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I never read the rules beyond the stat line, because I was just like, I just want the submarines out of the box. It happens to come in the same box. But, I mean, makes sense. So, did that one. Played a couple games at MCP. Nothing crazy. I did something stupid, and Adam told me to put that in the podcast, but now I forget what it was that I did.
It's like you should write that shit down or something.
Yeah. I was too busy having a good time. Immortal Hulk continues to be a bully in MCP. Although a legitimate strategy to fight him is just ignore him. Played Gaslands last week, before our game the 2 games we played this week last week, for the first time in quite a long time, and had a lot of fun. Because Sam finally decided to come play games with us again.
Nice.
Yeah, and a fellow that's been coming in to play Flesh and Blood was interested, and he came in and played again this week as well. And had a super good time. While we murdered the shit out of each other, of course, as usual, Sam, with her cat-themed team, just drove around and did things and just happened to get to the finish line.
I mean,
What else?
That tends to be the strategy that wins a lot of our games. The minute you like declare someone to be like, hey, you're the enemy, the person that gets declared the enemy and the person that does the declaring often like find themselves at each other's throats the whole time, and inevitably it usually tags someone else, and so there's like 3 people in a furball, and the other person can usually just find a way to like, all right, well, while you 3 are fighting, I'm just gonna scooch around here. It only is when I bring something that's so large that it clogs like the entry to a gate that like then everybody's stuck fighting each other.
Yeah. But still a good time though.
True. Well, since you don't seem to have much else, Do you want to move
Oh, I
on?
was gonna rack my brain one last time, see if there's anything else I did this week. Because I didn't play. Nobody showed up this past Tuesday for Team Yankee. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, shall we say what games we're going to be playing for upcoming Worlds qualifying?
Yeah, why don't we start with what you're gonna be playing?
Well, I'm really hoping we can get either Victory at Sea or some Team Yankee in, although I probably won't have the Team Yankee with me Tuesday. I've already got the Victory at Sea loaded up, at least the Italian stuff, which also, depending on when it gets made and when it shows up, normally his shipping is pretty fast and his work is pretty quick as well. We ordered a couple Sneaky Sneaks custom creations from one of my favorite I don't even know, like, aftermarket product person for, like, his main focus is Armada. So he does like a lot of movement templates, range rulers, stuff like that. Stuff to mark your ships for like HQs, squadrons, everything. He does a couple Legion pieces. It's Admiral Tater's ship shop. Sometimes you can reach out to him with specific like requests. So I reached out to get a. I'm getting 2 rulers. They're like effectively going to be able to measure 7 inches with a 45-degree angle on the end, with a marking for where you're supposed to line up for the bridge for Victory at Sea. But the really cool thing that we've got coming from him is squadron dials. They're not gonna.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, they're not gonna say like Hellcat Squadron or Zero Squadron or whatever my Italians use. They're just gonna say like USN Squad 1, IJN Squad 1, stuff like that, just to kind of more identify. And then when we play, we can just be like, oh, squad, this one is going to be, TBDs. This one's going to be Corsairs. This one's going to be, pick your poison. This one's going to be like Hellcats or something. And then they won't have the flight stands. But those things are a pain in the butt to carry and store. So they're just gonna be these little dials, similar to his Armada ship token holders, where they're gonna have magnets in the center, and then you're just going to like spin it to be like, this is my fighter, my bomber, my whatever. Especially since we're talking that scale, like you can't really see a lot of defining features unless it's something like the Catalina or a B-17 or something where they're the models are a little bit larger, but like they didn't do B-17s and stuff, at least as far as I've seen. Like the Catalina,
The models have the stats, right?
yeah, like you have the stats, but they don't have those anyways. So I just we ordered them from Admiral Tater. He's got an Etsy. He's got a Facebook. We got them on order. They're the same size as the base. So depending on when those come in next week, they may be ready, and I may finally give fighters, aircraft a test. But we'll see, because I don't know if he doesn't get to them till like middle of the week. It'll be after our game day, but we'll have them for the next time we get a chance. That's also depending on my work schedule next week, because that is.
Oh, the one where they messed everything up for you?
They didn't mess everything up. I just have a customer that only wants me, so woo, make that money. Um, Outside of that, though,
Man,
all of my Gaslands measurement stuff is at the store now, and where I'm at, I'll be able to have my stuff in the car and not have to worry about it while I'm at work, um, which is a nice feeling. Um, so I should be able to stop in both Tuesday and Thursday because Gaslands is just a lot of fun.
yeah, I got burnt out on it pretty good, but it's been going back up there for me where like it's starting to be enjoyable again. So,
That's fair.
but we played it, or I was playing it weekly as my only game for like 2-ish years.
With generally like one person before even I got into it, or even Sam and Albert got into it. So
Yeah, it was definitely just my weekly game with a friend, and that's what we played because it was easy. And I mean, like, I'm okay with it being the only one we played, if only because it's like that's how I pitched to people. It's a really cheap and easy way to get into this hobby. Probably among the cheapest if you want to play actual miniatures and not like cardboard standees or something.
well, and
You know, 50, $60 gets you in the game. So
I didn't get a chance. I didn't catch his name. What was the gentleman's name that joined us last night?
that was Andrew.
So I mean, that's exactly what you told Andrew when he was asking you about Fab. Was he was like, "Hey, I do Dungeons and Dragons. I do a little bit of miniatures there, but you know, this would be like my first minis game, and I'm kind of looking at like where do I start? Where do I want to go?" And you look at everything, be it 40K, Team Yankee, Bolt Action, Legion, all that stuff. And they're like, "Oh yeah, no, you're gonna spend a few hundred at minimum just to like field a regular army." Um, and then usually that's like, I hope you don't like, I hope you like not having any variation because you're going to be playing like the same thing every time until you buy more. And that can turn a lot of people away, but you just looked at them and you're like, it's like you buy $3 worth of Hot Wheels cars, or not even that. Like, you don't even have to paint them, you don't have to tear them down. Some of us really enjoy that.
It's what's on the card. You can literally just buy the Hot Wheel, put it down.
I mean, that's literally all I'm doing right now. Like, I only have one that I have like actually modded. And for the most part, everything else I just throw down on the table. And sometimes it's hilarious, like the Blues Brother team. Like, I've got the Blues Brother car with the the speaker on top.
The thing on top.
Yep, being followed usually by like two Chicago like state police from like the same era. I've got the Ricky Bobby team, and I play them with a gimmick where they can only turn left, which to me was hilariously fun, because you have to really think about how you're gonna like make a left-hand turn to go around a right-handed turn, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna happen. But spins are totally allowed, so you know, so you're like actually praying for that stuff all the time. So yeah, like you can get into it as deep as you want, or not as much, and you find a group like we've got, and you don't even need to buy templates or rules. The list builders are all free, so like it's a great entry point to be like, hey, how do you like miniatures? How do you like tabletop games like this? What more are you looking for? What kind of video games do you like that we can, you know, shove you towards to be like, oh, you like RTSs? Well, try these kind of games. Oh, you liked naval battle sims? Oh, try this. Like, something in there for everyone. Or if you're like, hey, what kind of IP you like? Oh, I really love Star Wars or Star Trek. And you're like, oh, cool, here's this and here's this. Have fun.
Yeah. I was just like racking my brain for a Star Trek miniatures game. I'm not sure if there's one of those though.
Isn't there a It's like a boarding.
I'll say that I know there's board games, but I can't think of a miniatures game.
Man, now you're gonna like make me fucking Google something because I was pretty sure there's like an away team.
I'm not saying it's not there. I just couldn't think of one. That's all.
Well, no, now we're googling.
Do the thing.
Because
Mom pins and needles.
Because I thought one of the I think it's Legion 99. It's either Legion 99 or the Outriders podcast, where someone is like having their Star Trek miniatures painted.
Okay.
And I was pretty sure it was like Star Trek Away Team something. Oh, it's just a board game. Star Trek Away Missions miniature board game.
Okay, I was gonna say that was the one I was thinking of, or I was thinking of a board game, but yeah. I feel like that would definitely be an easy, because as far as like skirmish, like indie games go, there's a game called it's like a Billion Suns or something like that. It's meant to be a spaceship combat game, smaller scale than Armada, but kind of the same idea, and you can flavor it however you want. So if there are any of our tens of listeners that want a way to play with the USS Enterprise or something like that, there you go.
Well, a while back, I actually ended up giving a bunch of Armada tokens. There was a guy that was like reaching out on the Facebook groups asking for anybody who had extra tokens because he was making Battlestar Galactica ships and squadrons to use in Armada.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he had 3D prints. He had them like all done. He was going to homebrew the cards, but he just wanted the official tokens and stuff so that like everything was still the same, and like, you know, luxury play style and stuff like that is all really cool, but it gets really expensive, especially luxury play styles metal stuff.
Yeah, I looked it up. My God.
Yeah, I did too when looking at like trying to find stuff for Team Yankee and a couple of the other games that we're looking forward to, and I was like, oh, I like having a lot of luxury stuff, but that's money that could go towards models, and I would much rather have the models right now. So,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoy pimping out the tokens for my games. But usually that's like further down the line, once I've pretty well established in what I want to play and I have factions. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, that's
cool.
that's like exactly what happened with Legion. Like, I waited until I was like, yep, I'm definitely playing CIS and Rebels, so I'll buy like the poker chip order tokens for those, and then we'll just kind of use cardboard for anything else, or not give a shit that Gar is using droids. But
yeah, that's the one thing for Legion I still haven't picked up is super nice order tokens. Mine are just like FDM 3D printed ones is like $10 for a set. They're just plain and generic. So
I mean, if they work, they work. As long as they're not.
Yeah,
as long as
I never worry about losing them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're cheap enough that I'd be like, if I gotta get one more, it's not a big deal.
And as long as they're not like, you can feel like what the symbol is, like, who gives a shit? Like, it's all yours. We're not judging. It's just I really like. I hate cardboard, so anytime I can replace it with acrylic, I really, really want to.
Believe me, I feel the same way. It's just hard to justify, for whatever reason, that particular purchase for me.
Yeah, well, you replace the cardboard, so it's not that.
Yeah.
Not that big a deal. It's just there's a lot of games I would rather have right now first than the luxury stuff. So,
speaking of games you want to have first, what future competitive markets are you looking at?
you wanna fucking jump into that right now?
I just saw a really good opportunity for a segue, but if you had something else, go for it.
I'm gonna fucking crush that segue. Nah, because I mean we don't have any other really games like the games that I mentioned. I want to play are like most of the ones that you're going to be playing. Plus, you may throw an MCP there as well. Probably going to try and sneak in a Legion game at some point.
Yeah, I probably should too, since it's like the game I promote the most for our store that I play the least.
Yeah, well, stop working on Saturdays.
Yeah, probably
not. Yeah, so future competitive markets. Let me just say, you're really fucking annoying when it comes to stuff sometimes. Do you remember what I'm referring to when I say that? Because
I have the memory of a goldfish.
Yeah, so it goes both ways. Because I talked to you about doing this podcast like a while ago, and you were like,
"Yeah,
I don't know what the fuck I'd talk about." Like, you play games, bitch. That's what we're gonna fucking talk about. And you're like, I don't
feelings.
I don't play games. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And then I resurrected this shit. Well, apparently at some point you did the same thing to me, where you're like, you and I were talking, and I was like, you know what? I really need like an armored core, which, by the way, new version, new game comes out this year, hopefully, as long as it's not super delayed. But I was like,
if it gets delayed, and it means it's done when they release it, I'm for that.
Sure, yeah. But I was always like, I need an armored core tabletop game, and I legit mean armored core tabletop game. Doesn't have to be IP, but what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to like select the legs on my mech, select the core, the arms, the weapons, the avionics, like the boosters, the everything. I want to customize the shit out of my thing and then set it loose on a field and fight. And maybe it's multiple things, maybe it's one thing, just depending. And at some point you were like, oh, well, there's this game, and I think we kind of talked about, was it Battletech?
Yeah, I mean, well, Battletech was the stompy robot game that popped into my head immediately, if only because it's been around for a super long time.
Yeah, and
quick aside, I'm a huge fan of it, of like the IP. I've read basically the entire classic Battletech line. The game as a system doesn't do it for me. It's just me. It's not a bad game, but it really wasn't scratching the itch that you were looking for in how you described it to me.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it, and I went and looked at the rules, and I was like, no, it's close. That kind of reminded me more of like a Hammer Slammer style, like we talked about, old book series.
Very much so.
Mercenary tanks, but Battletech is more mercenary mech units, and I was like, oh, that's somewhat cool, but it's not quite there. I literally want to build my mech, and I want to go fight. Like, that's all I want to do. Build it specifically, all of this. And we kind of dropped it from there, but you had mentioned back then, because this wasn't that long ago, I want to say this was like 2021-ish, and you're like, oh, well, there's like Gamma Wolves, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not falling for another one of your like schemes. You clearly don't know what I'm looking for, or something, or I just didn't hear you, or I blanked it out. And then I just decided one day, like I do for literally everything else, like the stuff that we got coming up for next year, the store Legion tournament events, the narrative stuff that you want to run, all of that. I was like, you know what? Oh, and the stuff that I've done for like the custom band stuff.
Awesome. I forgot about that.
Yep, for Gaslands. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to start making my own fucking game about Armored Core, and I'm going to do this. And so, like, I was telling you about it, and you were like, well, have you looked at Gamma Wolves? And I was like, the fuck is Gamma Wolves? This is literally the first time I've ever heard about this. And, like, immediately ran away from you to, like, start Googling, and you're like, I brought this up already. And I was, like, reading through like intro to the rules and watching a couple videos from the creator, and I was like, dude, this is exactly kind of what the fuck I was looking for. And you're like, I told you about this like 2 years ago, and I was like, ah, shit. Well, I'm totally on board now.
Yeah, it scratches, and I like how the creator did it, and he's written a few games, and usually the like genesis of the idea for the game that he has is he's like, I got all these miniatures that I've just collected, and I have no game to use those miniatures for, and he had all these cool old robot miniatures of various kinds from various systems. Or he was thinking a Gunpla, and he's like, I want a system that allows you to basically go, okay, does it fit on this size base? Now, I'm just paraphrasing, because I haven't actually read the rules, this is just what I remember from the video. But essentially, it's like, what size base does your miniature fit on? This is the class of that it is, right?
And that's totally part of
it. Is that exactly? Okay, yeah. And then you kind of go from there, and you just build it out however you want. And sure, just like a lot of games, it's got a fluff and a background, but it doesn't seem super important to like obviously Star Wars, you need to have the factions in that IP for the game to function the way they intended to. But I mean, you could totally flavor it however you want. But as soon as you were on board, I was just thinking, like, what miniatures lines have I always liked for the minis, but not for the game? Because that's how I'm gonna do it. Because I know you found some 3D prints that you thought looked cool, but have you decided what you're going to use, or
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to end up using, but the whole reason I went the 3D print route and started looking at them was like, I was never into Gundam. That, like, I don't know why. I like mech stuff. Like Armored Core is literally a series that I've grown up on. It's one of the first games that I ever had on my first PlayStation, so it's been very impactful. Just for whatever reason, I've never watched it. I probably need to watch. So like, that was not something that I wanted to build around or play around. But I have Zoids. I have a lot of Zoids. The only problem is, all the Zoids on average are around like 300 millimeter in length ish, which is twice the size of the biggest model scale base that the game supports. Because Gamma Wolf supports, like, I haven't read this far into it yet, or I haven't seen like, don't mix these, because there's like a miniatures scale that uses like, it's like 45, 75, and 100, I think, as like the base sizes. And then there's model scale, which uses like 50, I think 100, and then 150. But
for the height?
No, for the width of the base.
Oh, gotcha.
Millimeters. So I don't, like, I could maybe fit like a Command Wolf or a Saber Psych on those size larger bases, but like the Ligers are like twice the size of the base, and like the Tortoise, the Bison, they're gonna like take up 3 bases, so it's like I can't play with them the way I want to play with them. But who knows? Maybe I'll reach out to Admiral. I'll reach out to Admiral Tater to be like, hey, can you make me some like 300 millimeter circle bases? They ain't gotta be nothing fancy.
I'm sure they're out there.
It's not.
I'm sure if you.
It's not about them being out there. It's right now the game system. And this is, admittedly, I haven't bought the rule book yet to like go through it in depth. Just from like what I've seen, that just supports those two systems in terms of like everything that you buy out there. And because it's a measuring game, you know, if you take like a pie dish and you drop it down, to be like, I'm playing this thing, kind of limits your table, kind of limits like everything that you play with, kind of limits like me moving, maybe 12 inches is significantly more advantageous than your heavy running at like 100 millimeter base or whatever it was. uh it's not quite fair in my opinion, so I wouldn't like ask to do that. But that's ultimately why I went the 3D route, looking for stuff that's more reminiscent of Armored Core, stuff that is very similar to like Ghost in the Shell, Tachikoma, Think Tanks, all of those kind of things. Which I found. Like, I found a number of people who have done stuff like that. A lot of. Recently found a Patreon artist. Shoot, I'm blanking on his name now. It's like Mini Mecha or something. Who does right now a number of different. Patreon. He does a number of different. I'm trying to remember what they're called. IPs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because like when I was discussing with him, like I was just kind of fangirling over his material and the stuff that he does. I was like, this is amazing. Like, he's got the Jigabachi helicopters from Ghost in the Shell, and I was like, I've never even seen anybody do a print on those. So I'm like, Micro Mecha. That's what it is. Micro Mecha on Patreon. He's got a store coming at some point that I'm super looking forward to. But he and I were talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I do this one. I do these like 2 IPs, so you don't have to worry about that." And then I'm really hoping to start doing some like custom personal ones that don't really do anything on IPs. And I was just like, yeah, I'm here for this. I'm going to support this. I love everything that you're doing right now. And it's just going to be cool to field this kind of stuff on a table, and then we can like shoot at each other and slap each other and just have big mechs running around punching each other. I'm so pumped for it.
I would say one of the things that, other than the chance to explore miniatures lines that I was never probably going to pick up, I did watch one battle report. I don't know if you picked up on this from what you've seen, but one of the cool aspects is that since base size is so important, say you take like a 5 mech team, you will have essentially blank bases of the same size, because those are like blips on the opposing radar, right? So yeah, until you draw a line of sight, they're just blips. You don't actually know exactly what it is, which I don't know why that hooked me, because I was like, sweet, I want to get bases and I want to paint like a radar screen on it, or like a radar readout from like Aliens, where they're using the motion tracker to track the aliens. Yeah. I was like, oh, I need to do this. I want to get like plexi, so like it has that cool glossy look to it. And I was like, oh, it's so cool.
So, yeah, and I found stuff like that. The website is Death Ray Designs.
The guy that made the game, that's like his frequent collaborator, is the guy that does Death Ray Designs. Yeah,
so like because I think I watched like a Learn to Play, or like I've pretty much only seen the stuff from the game maker. So like that's they sell the different bases, but then they also have those like specific they call them contact sets, so that those dishes are like just translucent green. You throw them down on the table, and you're like, yep, you don't know what this is. And if I brought 5 of the same bases, because I didn't want to bring heavies and I didn't want to bring lights, you don't know which one's going to be where until you see it, and you're like, shit, that was not what I was hoping was going to be around that corner. I need to rethink my battle plan, and or vice versa. So I'm super stoked on it. I'm super sold on it. I need to finish building the enclosure for my 3D printers so I can get them back up and running to start printing these, and then buy the book so we can have that. But
It gives me time to finish my project so I can devote all my time to getting that, because yeah, I haven't decided. I'm between two lines. Either Heavy Gear, which I played a lot of, one of the PC games when I was a kid. Never really got into the miniatures game. I like it because it's kind of a blend of the kind of BattleTech is more of a walking tank, grounded reality where Gundam sometimes can, in other mecha anime, can be the like Super Sentai robots where they're basically just superhero robots. And Heavy Gear is kind of like a nice blend between those two aesthetics, while still being kind of like a dude with a rifle kind of mechas. And or Dust Tactics, which the only one that's kind of leaning me away from it is I'm fairly certain that one's out of print. So I'm just buying secondhand, but it's essentially like Diesel Punk. If you ever played the current Wolfenstein games, it gives a lot of vibes of like that kind of mechas.
nice.
So yeah, I mean, let's be realistic. I'll probably investigate and buy a few of both, because if nothing else, once I plan on picking up a book, okay, what do I need to play in terms of a single team, and then just kind of hammer out like a 5 mech team or whatever it is. I remember the guy going through the book, and depending on the faction you picked, dictated like what you could take in terms of classes. I think it was like generally it was 6 mechs was in your crew, and then depending on what the mission was, dictated like how many. Regardless, like get a 6-man team ironed out, figure out what I like in the game, and then I can dive deeper into what I want to pick up. So
Yeah, it's totally fair.
yeah, but that's all I got for future competitive markets.
Yeah.
Anything else for you?
No, it's Blood Red Sky and Gamma Wolves are the only things that I'm super looking forward to in terms of like new games. And we all know I am desperately fucking waiting for Nordic Forces and Team Yankee. Um,
Yeah.
Here's a fun
I
question for you
a lot
though.
of faith out front. Yeah, what's up?
New starter set for World of Tanks. You
Oh,
gonna
that's right. Yeah.
you
I
gonna
saw
get
it.
it? You want it?
I mean, I want the American tank out of it.
Yeah, I know that's my problem. Is
What is it, the T-29 or something?
the T-29? I would offer to split it with you, but I also want that tank. So hopefully, I mean, I assume it'll happen. But hopefully the blister packs for those singles will be out not too long after that starter set comes out.
True. Yeah. Because I mean, it doesn't look like the contents of the box other than the tanks changed. I
Yeah.
don't need another set of dice in another rule book. So
Yeah, but your dice betray you frequently, so what if those dice are the dice that don't?
I mean, you're not wrong. I could also just roll regular d6s. It's basically just Gaslands dice, 4+ to hit, 6s or crits.
That takes all the fun out of it.
I mean, yeah, you gotta play
Uh,
with the things.
yeah, but it's probably going to have the same concern that I have with everything that I've seen from them so far, that that box is going to have cards in it that you're not going to find anywhere else. And they're not doing card packs, so I'll probably at least buy it at once.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or I'll just wait for you to buy it, and I'll photocopy them.
or you can just like borrow it whenever I'm not running the T-29. It won't be G.I. Joe painted though.
Hey, now, at least I mean, it's painted. That's the goal I set for myself.
Yeah, but
If only I spent so much money when I got into this hobby.
if you borrow it from me though, it probably won't be because.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Well, Anything else you want to cover?
I wanted to give like 2 shout outs. I'm sure this is fine. You can edit me out and bleep me out if you want. But we've been talking about it for a fair amount of time. But check out Gorilla Miniature Games on YouTube if you're interested in Gamma Wolves. That's the guy that the YouTuber
Yeah.
and author who wrote it. He also did Last Days Zombie Apocalypse, which I've picked up the rulebooks for, but I really don't want to build modern normal houses and terrain in 28 mil scale, or like standard miniature scale.
I mean, if you do that though, we could also play like. There's like number of modern miniature games out there where you can like spec ops with like you take a team of like 5 minis to go do X thing or something.
Yes. You should check out.
I'm already in a group. I'm already in a group that does a bunch of those games where it's just a generic and they share all their like PDF rules all the time.
Oh, there's one. It was just, I don't know, I think the Kickstarter's over, but it's called Close Quarters Battle, and it's basically 80s action movie. The beginning of Predator before they meet the alien, when they attack the camp in the jungle. It's basically that with like one person plays 2 operators, and the other opposing player plays the bad guys. You play the game, you earn VPs, then you switch sides, and that's like, if I remember right, that's like a full like, hey, let's play a game. Is each player plays both sides, and whoever has more VPs wins for the day. But it looks so cool. But I just don't. You also have a 3D printer though, so I can just mooch off of you to 3D print stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I would like those style games. Like maybe if after the Nords come out, maybe if after we play Blood Red Sky, maybe after we play Gamma Wolves, I'll be like, all right, I have this itch for this style game. But like right now, like I haven't played a squad-based shooter or a first-person shooter or a third-person like real war sim in like, oh shit, man, I think Division 2 was the last one. It's just not a genre that I'm like super interested in trying to recreate on a tabletop. So maybe once we play all these others, I'll be like, yeah, let's do this or let's do that zombie game. But
I mean, if nothing else, like I've just made a habit of collecting rule books for miniatures games that I think are cool, that also are kind of like, here's a miniatures line, but you don't necessarily have to use ours. Play with whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I'll eventually pick it up and have it, and then whenever we feel like trying it, we can just proxy it with whatever miniatures we got to see if we like it before we dive headfirst into picking stuff up.
Oh, fuck you, dude.
Oh, what now?
You know what I just remembered? I think I have. Did you ever read the Star Wars zombie books, either Red Harvest or Death Troopers?
I think I read Death Troopers a long time ago, like when it first came out.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I read Death Troopers, that's the one I read.
One of the 3D creators that I've supported over the years did zombie sets of Imperial Stormtroopers.
Yeah, I've seen those on Etsy. I don't know if they're the same ones you're thinking or you're talking about.
I mean, I couldn't tell you without seeing them, but we could like totally do that with like Legion characters to like preview the rules before we do anything else.
We wouldn't have to build new terrain either.
True. Fuck, man. I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking for new games.
Yeah, I feel ya. Yeah, well, that's okay.
All my niches are currently being scratched or about to be scratched.
Just stay the course. Just think of those Nordic forces. Think of that S tank. just keep that in mind. Don't stray. Just because right now for me it's like get all this other shit that I got piling up done, so I can guilt-free order stuff for Gamma Wolves, because I just want my robots.
True. Well, on that bombshell,
Yes.
What do you want to say to the people?
I hope everybody's doing well. If you're local to where we live, you should totally check out our LGS, the Game Wizard and Blue Sky Hobbies in beautiful Bremerton.
Yeah. By the way,
Uh,
we are not supported or anything by Admiral Tater or Gamma Wolves or Guerrilla
yeah,
Warfare
I
or
think I would speak for you when I say those are just people, places, and products that I like.
yeah. And we're not supported by Blue Sky, even though I definitely support you guys.
Kind of am, since I'm employed there,
Yeah.
but I'm not getting paid right now.
It's true. Yeah, sure. Come on out. Come hang out. Come spend money. Come find us. Come play games.
It's the least we can do.
Uh,
They fund. They give us a place to play games.
True. And the terrain creator is not half bad. So you can find us on.
That felt like a personal attack.
Yeah. And you still haven't made those
Yeah.
ashland trees, so get on it.
Oh, that's a deep cut for some of our listeners,
It's not.
and that'll just be an in joke that
It's not
the
that
other
deep.
new listeners won't understand.
You ruined it. You stop.
Nope.
You
Nope.
can find
Lean
us on
into it.
Instagram. You can probably find us on Discord somewhere. You can find us on
We also have a Facebook.
Facebook. So with that, good night and go game.
All right. Have a good one. Bye bye.